Yeah, well, I'm a native Californian. I was born and raised in North County, San Diego, and I lived there until I was in my early 20s, and I bought my first mountain bike in 1985. I've been a lifelong cyclist. After college, I ended up in Redding and just really was attracted to this area because of the outdoor activities that we have available to us, and just really liked the community and the things that were happening up here at the time and how outdoor recreation was being developed. And so I ended up sticking around, and here I am all these years later. I first became a board member for Redding Trail Alliance in 2019. The organization was officially given a 501c3 status in 2016. So prior to the 2019, when I became a board member, I had helped out with some of their projects and really liked what they were doing, and saw kind of the whole grassroots part of the way the organization was operating, and that it was definitely doing things that were having a positive effect on our local community, and that there was an appreciation for it, and that certain people that were the movers and shakers in Redding and Shasta County were behind it. So I was really interested in joining the organization when they asked me to do so. The first official trail that Trail Alliance built was a project called the Enticer. And the Enticer is a jump line, I guess you could call it, type trail that was built out in the Swayze Recreation Area. Swayze Recreation Area is just directly west of Redding, and it's managed by the Bureau of Land Management. And so that was the trail that really put Redding Trail Alliance on the map, but it also was the trail that kind of changed how people viewed mountain biking in Redding, but not only people that live here, but for people that pass through the area, whether they're going from the Bay Area up to Portland. Oftentimes they'll stop here just so they can ride those trails, specifically the Enticer jump line. Well, I think probably the biggest hurdle was just the fact that it was our first project, our first big project that was being done by the book and in conjunction with a couple different organizations. So we had backing from a couple philanthropic organizations, but also having to go through the permitting process with the Bureau of Land Management, and just understanding what they expected of us and having to do things via the standards of a government organization were probably the biggest challenge. And I think through that process, one of the biggest things that came out of it was the working relationship that was developed with BLM, and gaining their trust that we were going to do things correctly, and that we were a legitimate organization that was in this for the long haul, and we wanted to do it right. I wasn't involved in the actual planning of that trail, but I know that there were probably moments when there was some doubt or there was some frustration on having to do things in a different way than what maybe the trail builder initially thought they were going to do. The trail is fairly unique because what it was is a old mining or logging road that was heavily eroded and basically just a poorly maintained road that was no longer being used as a road. And so the whole idea behind it was to rehabilitate that road and turn it into something useful that would benefit the community by having a new trail, but also to create an area that didn't have the erosion that was happening from that road that would feed into the creeks and create more silt and stuff like that. So I'd say that just taking the two different goals that might have been in mind, whether it be the Trail Alliance's goal to build this world-class jump line trail or BLM's desire to have it become a ecologically sound from an erosion standpoint, is where it really kind of came together. Well, I think that the biggest and coolest thing that I remember from that project was not only just the groundbreaking of getting this project going with like Reading Trail Alliance and the BLM and some of the other folks that were helping out on it, but the community really jumped in to help out and come to the work parties and donate equipment and come out and donate food to help the volunteers work on this project. For instance, I remember going out there on one of the days with my kids when they were pretty young, and there were a whole bunch of people out there with their kids, and it was just it was like a community event that I remember very fondly. Yeah, so the car fire happened in 2018, and it really had a huge effect on the Reading, Shasta County area, whether you want to just look at it from the damage that was caused to the trails, but I think also just a whole reset in people's mindset as to how fragile things were in our area. You just kind of take a lot of the natural beauty that we've come accustomed to up here for granted. And after that fire, it was really like, wow, where do we go from here? And you've got people rebuilding their houses, people trying to get their lives back together, which was top priority. But right away, people were wanting to know, when is this trail going to get reopened? When is that trail going to get reopened? So we really could see the value that these trails had in the community, and that was what people, or that's one of the things that people really value and wanted to recover from the fire. And so right away, the Trail Alliance started working with our local agencies, whether it was the City of Reading, Bureau of Land Management, National Park Service, on trying to get some of these trails open again. And you think about just some of the simple things like trees going down over the trail that needed to be cleared out, but the maintenance that has ensued after that fire is just really a huge, I guess you could call it a time suck for us, because we have trails that have had hundreds of trees down on them. We will go out and clear them after a winter with a lot of heavy weather and wind, and then 3 weeks later we'll have a windstorm go through and there will be another 24 trees down on that same trail. And so it's just constant maintenance for our trail crew when it comes to clearing trees. But now with the vegetation growing up that's different than what was there, it encroaches on the trails, and so we're having to do a lot more just vegetation management than actual trail tread maintenance. Yeah, like we've got a trail system that's right on the outskirts of Reading here called the West Side Trails, and several different agencies are involved in maintaining those trails depending on who owns that land. And so that's the City of Reading, the Bureau of Land Management, and then we've even got some trail that's on privately owned land. And for instance, the Bureau of Land Management, they've got some pretty restricted resources when it comes to being able to do trail maintenance. And so they were one of the agencies that I think realized, hey, the Trail Alliance is one of our assets. And if they weren't out doing all this maintenance on the trails, then it just might not be getting done in any timely manner. And so I think we, over the years, had shown the BLM that we are worthy of going out and working on the trails, and that we don't have any nefarious intentions on building trail without permission or anything like that, that our maintenance capabilities are one of the things that makes us an important part of the whole trail management component. There's always little things that maybe you just have some differences in ideas, or funding issues that might come up. But we have been really fortunate in how things have worked out here, and I think that's one of the things that's a great success story, is that speaking to other trail organizations throughout the state, everyone's got their own obstacles that they need to overcome. And one of the things that is unique to the Shasta County area is that we have so much access to public lands that other areas, they have to build their trail on private land, and they have different obstacles to overcome. And so here we have really worked to create a working relationship with our government organizations, and I think that has really eliminated a lot of potential issues that could pop up, whether you're wanting to initiate a project, go through the environmental assessment, or the actual building of the project. So I'd say that we're really fortunate to not have a whole lot of government pushback or disagreements with how we go about doing things. Yeah, so Shasta County actually has a nice BMX track that's a true BMX track, and it's located up in Shasta Lake City. But here in the actual city limits of Redding, there was always a desire to build some sort of a bike park for kids and families to be able to enjoy and have a place to just recreate and hang out. And so in 2017, we started putting together ideas for you could say a world-class type bike park. And it is a pretty grandiose plan that is in the works on being completed. But in 2017, we were approached by a local contractor named Jamie Lynn, and he had an idea to build a junior bike park to kind of get this thing kicked off. And so between this contractor Jamie Lynn and the McConnell Foundation, which is a local philanthropic organization, we were able to work with the city of Redding to put together a plan and initiate the design and the permitting for a junior bike park that would hopefully be kind of a baby step or a springboard in the development of a larger scale bike park. And so in 2017 is when ground was broken on that project, and it was a 5.5-week project where we had a crew basically here the whole time building the bike park. And not only did we have some paid staff, but we also had a lot of volunteers that worked on this to better their community. It was really a cool project to see come to fruition. Well, I'd say that one of the things was showing the city of Redding that this was something that the community would really get behind. Sometimes you don't know how the community is going to appreciate it until you actually build it. And so getting the funding and the permits and everyone kind of on the same page as to where to build this thing and what kind of features we could put in there that would create an enjoyable and safe recreational area, that was just kind of getting it all on paper. And then once I think ground was broken, everyone could see like, oh yeah, this is really going to work out. And then after it was built, to see the families here on a daily basis, kids that even can't ride pedal bikes yet are riding on the pump track or riding the little mini jump line that we put together on their kick bikes. Well, I think probably the biggest question that people had was, what is a pump track? Because it doesn't necessarily explain itself, and everyone, they are familiar with BMX tracks, which are like a track that's meant to race BMX bikes on. And so this whole concept of a pump track was something that the community, I think, didn't really know what it was until we actually built it and people started coming out to ride it. And just for a quick explanation, a pump track is a little circular track with rolling jumps and berms that once you get going on this, you can basically pump your bike and you don't have to pedal it to keep going around. And so I think just getting that concept across to people sometimes was a little bit of a challenge, but now that it's been built, I've had people tell me that they actually learned how to ride berms on this little pump track that we built, and some of these folks are adults that were riding them on their full size mountain bikes. So it's been a pretty cool thing for all abilities and all ages. Let's see, 2017 was the initial event that became the BigFoot Adventure Challenge. And in 2017, the city of Redding started this event called the Mayor's Mountain Bike Challenge. And so the mayor at the time, he was kind of behind this whole project to put on some sort of mountain bike riding challenge in the Redding area. And so the Redding Trail Alliance got on board with helping put together the routes and managing the passports that people would get in order to complete these particular rides that were put together for the challenge. And we assisted with the grand opening party for it and the closing party that we do every year when the challenge is over with. I don't think there are a whole lot of obstacles that I can think of, because this event took off right from the very start. The concept was a great concept, and right away people just really appreciated it and had a lot of fun with it. And it's I think the thing that makes it successful is it's similar to some sort of competition, but you're basically just competing with yourself to complete the challenge, whether you just want to do 3 of the events out of the whole passport and get your free pair of BigFoot socks, or if you want to try to black out the whole line of rides or other events that are now involved in this whole BigFoot Adventure Challenge, then you can do that. And everyone gets to kind of have their own little event, but you're part of a bigger thing. And so this Mayor's Mountain Bike Challenge has just morphed every year into a bigger and better event that more people can participate in. And so we now have the BigFoot Adventure Challenge. In addition to just mountain biking courses, we have gravel riding courses, we have family adventure challenges, we have one section of it that you can do with your dog, and then we also have a hiking component. So it's become just a multifaceted event that you can participate in almost irregardless of your abilities or what type of trail device that you like to get on to experience trails. Yeah, we've got some pretty awesome trails that get put together every year for this, and a lot of times I think it's the last one that I rode. And so 2 days ago I rode the salty French fry course, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I haven't ridden this in a little while. I forgot how awesome this trail is. Well, then yesterday I went and rode the Docos Trail, which is one of our newest trails that the Redding Trail Alliance built up in the Swayze recreation area. And I was like, oh, this is like the best trail that we've got. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. Well, I would say you've got to know your community, and you've got to know who is going to be in your corner and who are going to be your backers, and get those people on board before you try to do anything. We were lucky to have some philanthropic organizations here that got behind us right away and provided some horsepower and some funding to kind of get this seed growing in the ground. But also we were able to leverage some of these philanthropic organizations to help us gain the trust and the working relationship with our various government agencies, whether it's a city or a county or a federal agency that manages the lands. And so having people on board to back you and stand up with you when you're going to bat is really a big benefit. The other thing I would recommend that is something that the Trail Alliance started several years ago. It's called the Single Track Summit. And it was a concept where every year one of the trail organizations, whether it be here in Shasta County or over in Humboldt County or down in the Sacramento area, we would host usually a 2 or 3 day event where all these different agencies that are similar to the Redding Trail Alliance would get together, and we would discuss projects that we're working on, some of the challenges, some of the solutions, and it's really interesting to learn how other agencies are going about accomplishing their goals for their communities. And since the initial Single Track Summit, it's become a thing that's happening now statewide in various regional areas. And so anyone could go to one of these summits and learn like so much that they might not believe how much you can learn, and how many people are available to ask questions of and get good information from.